Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Venusian Womb, a womb journey where dreams are seeded, identities are alchemized, and the journey inward begins.
This season, we are honoring a dream in gestation, a womb journey exploring the sacred phase between dreaming and birthing. It's about the phase where something meaningful is taking shape within you, even if you can't see it yet.
I'm Milena.
And I'm Megan.
Let's begin by taking a slow, deep breath together. Feel yourself arrive, land in your body.
This is a space to pause, to reflect, to connect, and to grow at your own pace.
We invite you to join us as we sit in conversation, share stories, and explore what it really means to be in the process of becoming. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Venusian Womb podcast. We are so grateful to have you join us for this conversation. And this conversation is going to be a little bit different than our other ones in the sense that it's going to be a bit more of a Q&A style vibe and hopefully open up some space for discussion and really just adding some reflection to these questions for us to share in this moment and also for you as you're listening. So we're going to get right into it. We're basically going to be talking about women's circles and the fact that as women, oftentimes we have grown up learning to take care of ourselves and to sit with our emotions alone and to isolate when we feel overwhelmed, and that emotions are weakness. And so we're really here to talk about the importance of women gathering and the importance of these spaces for women to feel seen, held, heard, and also supported. And that truly is the foundation of sisterhood. And so we really want to open up this conversation of what it actually is to gather as women, what sisterhood even means truly, and also what are women's circles, like what to expect when you come to one, and what is the field that we are opening up in these women's circles for women as we gather.
That was a beautiful introduction to it. And I do want to say we call ours womb circles because that's on brand with just what we're working with, the womb, but it is a woman's circle. So we might interchangeably call it a woman's circle, a womb circle. We're talking about the same thing. So I want to start before we dive into these questions we have that we're going to kind of ping pong off of each other with something very common we both hear from friends, from people in our field when we start talking about Venusian womb or we talk about our circles is that, oh my gosh, I'm so interested. I really want to come, but I'm scared. And there's a lot of fear, a lot of resistance. And then it almost like stops there. Because then if we interrogate or question a little bit further with like curiosity, it's like, well, what are you scared of? It's the, I don't know, I'm just not ready. Or it's just really vulnerable. Or, but I don't know what to expect. So we really want to dive into getting clear on what it is you can expect from a circle and maybe demystifying some of these fears, unveiling some of those resistances because it makes us sad sometimes. We're like, but you don't have to be anything. You don't have to do anything. And yeah, it's vulnerable, but like you don't have to be, you can only have to be vulnerable to the extent that you want to be vulnerable. So that's my little opening on before we dive into these questions. Um, but if you are someone who has been interested in coming to a circle, listen to this entire episode and come to the next one. Is really where I'm going to start that there.
And I
All right.
want to just say, I want to speak to any resistance already. Like for any woman that have had negative experiences with other women, when we carry these sisterhood wounds, that also creates this whole additional layer of fear in the body where it's like, even though you may understand you may logically be able to comprehend the value of having women that you can be held by and really come to when you're going through a hard time. I do want to also speak to the fact that when we have had these negative experiences with sisters and we have experienced manipulation, betrayal, lies, and that's been part of our lived experience. We are all like, there is going to be that resistance that's there when you're putting yourself into spaces of, especially vulnerable spaces of connecting with women.
Are you ready for the first question?
I am.
All right.
Let's go into
So,
it.
Milena, what do you think people imagine when they hear the words women's circle?
Mm, mm. This can take many turns because it also depends on the theme. But to go into it generally, I mean, the way that I would naturally think people would respond is just thinking that it's a space for women to come together, to share their lived experience, to be guided into practices that allow them to connect to themselves and also to the other women in the space. However, when there are certain themes that come up in for women's circles that are potentially a little bit more edgy, some of those themes that we've done have been untamed expression. You know, these are the more sensually embodied or shadowy themes of women's circles. And I can see how that can create almost this resistance and this unknown. It's almost like we can speak about what the flow of the circle is going to be, but the actual theme itself, there is this mystery and there is this unknown, I think, within them that people don't know what to expect, especially for these more shadowy territories that we explore within Women's Circle. And the beauty of that is that you have full autonomy in these circles. So, all of the things that we are suggesting in circles that we've planned are all invitations. Also, we go in with the plan, we show up in circle, and we're co creating. So, yes, we have a framework of what we are potentially going to explore, but also Megan and I, the way that we go ahead and do these circles is we're honoring what's present in the circle in the moment. And that's also something that's led by the women that are showing up and what they're bringing to the space. And if there's something that's maybe coming up for them, that's going to one inform the field for everyone else that's there because I guarantee that if one person is feeling something in particular, it's going to reflect and mirror something else
Mhm.
in someone that's there. And two, it also gives us that beauty of co-creation where we get to sometimes throw the framework out the window and honor what's present and adjust and course correct to what us as a group, what we all need as a unit. So I feel like that's just some things that I feel like people may imagine about a circle being. But I'm curious if there's anything that that has come up for you, Megan, in yourself or
Yeah.
like the women you've spoken to.
I've noticed there's this perception or this I don't know if it's a bias. No, I think it's just a perception that the women that come to circles, they're healed, they're super spiritual, they're so embodied, they're so expressed, which if I'm being brutally honest, most of us are coming tender. Most of
Mhm.
us are showing up and we don't even really want to be there. We signed up, but there was a lot of resistance on our way there because we know that we're about to face some tender parts of ourselves. And those tender parts of ourselves are not necessarily healed. They're not going to be expressed, let me tell you that. And spirituality, from what me and Milena have really come to integrate and understand, is embodied. Your spirituality comes from your body. So we're not floating up in the ethers and and I know there's a lot of like I was going to say the word propaganda. There's a lot of like marketing online for circles that looks etheric and everybody's shaking around and it's cathartic, which if that's the experience you have and you go there on your own and your body leads you there, then that will be the experience you'll have. But we will never force someone into having a particular type of experience because a women's circle isn't supposed to look any type of way. And I think from everything you see online of what these circles look like, which is something me and Milena have always stood very firm on, is we don't record anything in circle, ever. What happens in circle stays in circle, also because there's not that much to record, y'all. We're sitting in circle, we're talking, we're sharing, and we're being our authentic selves in that moment. There's some tears sometimes there's some big belly laughs, but we're not doing anything crazy. I mean, it can feel crazy internally, or it can feel like you're moving a lot, but it's not a performance. There's nothing about the circle that is to be performed, to be witnessed by outside eyes. And it really is for those who are present in that container. So I think that's where that belief of I have to come in a certain type of way creeps up in fears and resistances for people because they're not ready, or they don't think they fit that perfect mold of what we expect them to be in a women's circle so that we get the perfect shot or whatever. You don't have to be anything but what you truly are in that moment. And I think that's a big thing that some people think a women's circle is supposed to look like because of what they've maybe seen online or what they've heard about women's circles or heard about someone's experience at a circle or a ceremony of, I was shaking and I felt like God came into me and all these crazy things that happened. Like, that's never happened at one of our circles. And I
No.
don't think it will. But if it does, awesome. But that's definitely not the intention of ascending anyone or yeah.
And that's exactly why we also don't record these circles. One, confidentiality. Even if the words that are being expressed in the recording are not posted, it's still, there is almost this element of not wanting to have this external energy creeping into the space and into the field that we've created for all of the women that are present, including ourselves. So there's that element. And then also, too, is whenever people feel that there's a camera, there's this performativeness that comes up. Whether you want to believe it or not, even subconsciously, if you know that there's a camera in the room, you are going to move differently than you would if
Mhm.
there wasn't anyone there, if there wasn't anything recording you. And that is something that we have chosen to honor, is really, if we are trying to hold a space that feels safe for all of these women to be in their most authentic expression and be as authentic as they choose to be, then a big part of that is making sure that the space itself is contained for that safety, for that softening, for that authenticity to be able to come through, and also to remove all of these masks. Like, there's no mask to wear. There's no performance that's needed for any of these spaces. It's really you witnessing yourself and the women that are there witnessing you. And it's beautiful because, most of the time you don't know the women that are there. So, in a sense, it's also what a great opportunity for you to bring your full self to people that don't have any of these prejudice or stories about who you are or how you're showing up. They're really just receiving you as you are in that moment for the first time. And it's beautiful to be able to give yourself that permission to just be. Like, if you're feeling low energy, if you're feeling tender, if you're feeling angry, like if there's feminine rage, that's also allowed to be there. And I find that, and I'm speaking for myself, when I've gone into these spaces where there's people recording or where there is almost this, I feel this performativeness come up in me. I feel, even just not while I'm in the space, but even in the ways that I'm dressing to go to the space.
Yeah.
I want to dress a certain way because then I know that there's going to be something that'll be posted about me, and I want to look a certain way. I want to be perceived a certain way. And that's why that's just something that we've just completely taken out of the picture, because a circle is not about that. It's not about how you dress. It's not about how you look. It's not about what you're doing to be a certain way in the space. It's just about how you're being. And so I think that that's probably like the point that I want to hone in on the most is there may already be there may be resistance already from past experiences with sisters. There may be resistance towards maybe the types of circle spaces that you've seen online and what that looks like, and thinking that our circles are going to look like that, or that there is this type of performativeness with sisters, and really just wanting to like abolish that altogether, because none of that is the point. Really, we're here to tell our stories. We're here to share our hearts. We're here to be real. And we're here to move some of that energy in the body with movement, embodiment, with sound, with sharing. And that's the whole point. When I talk about women's circles, sometimes I will say it's kind of like group therapy. In a way,
Mhm,
because, these when we bring our stories and we share them in safer spaces, there's so much shame. There's so much shame and judgment that is released in these spaces when we can do that. And
mhm,
that for me, like that's the greatest form of therapy that I can have is not just to share my story, but also be held by women that can relate, that understand, can understand parts of my own lived experience and can hold me in it. What a
mhm.
beauty to do that.
No, I definitely agree. I think something that in doing these circles, what I've really honed in on or could see in myself and the women that come consistently is how powerful group healing is. And being a coach that works one-on-one, yes, that's powerful too, but there's something that so special about the witnessing in a group at the same time. And I think that might in my opinion, that is the, like, most elite form of healing is group healing.
I agree. I agree. And had you asked me this even a year and a half ago, I would have been like, absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
I have maybe one person that I trust to open myself up with, and that's about it. And that's how I like to keep it because that's predictable until, again, breaking past that barrier of resistance.
And that kind of I have something I wanna say, but it's really answers the next question. So the next question is, why does vulnerability feel scary? And feeding off of this group therapy healing, it's not therapy, but we're gonna call it group therapy for just this moment, in this instance. A lot of our trauma, a lot of our wounds are
Mm.
relational. They have ruptured in relationship with other people. Like Milana's talked about the sisterhood wound quite a few times. So, no shit, it's a little scary to come sit in connection with other people. But the truth is, the only way to heal, to repair these ruptures, these wounds that happened in relationship is to do it in relationship. So, showing up in circle, what's the word, unveiling these parts of yourself that have been wounded in relationship, being met with multiple eyes watching, witnessing you, holding you with love, care, compassion, and seeing like, oh, wait a minute, okay, this is a little different than what I thought it was, and I don't have to do this all alone, and I'm not being met with more shame, or I'm not being judged, or it's not making this rupture get more rupture-y and worse than it was originally. And in those micro moments in circle, when you slowly unveil yourself and allow yourself to be seen, to be witnessed, to be held, especially these wounded parts of you, you're teaching your body, and also the body remembers. The body remembers these woundings, it remembers the ruptures. So, for it to be able to be seen in these moments where it's anticipating a rupture or it's anticipating being shamed or judged, and that's not what happens, there's a little bit more safety that's
Mhm.
built from within your body. And to do that just not one-on-one with a therapist or one-on-one with a coach or one-on-one with a practitioner, to be doing that with other people who are also sharing their own wounds, it's like it's alchemy. It's like transformative on a level that I can't even explain because you have to witness it, because I've seen it happen within myself so many times in circles where there's parts of myself that I'm like, I would never share that out loud, especially to a group of people. And then one woman is brave and she shares that. And I'm like, "Huh, yeah, me too. That's me too." And then I feel like I can, like, own that part of myself because she just shared that part of herself, and I love her. I don't see her any different after sharing it. So there's this, like, symbiosis creation and, like, healing that takes place in these spaces, which, yes, it's very scary to be vulnerable, especially when we have all those fears and those wounds. And because the body remembers, but or and it's also so healing to expose yourself and be witnessed in these types of spaces. And me and Milena, we always set agreements at the beginning of the circle so that we all know what we are signing up for, what's expected of each of us. So we're co-creating the expectations of the container beforehand. And I think that's a really important piece that is needed in these kinds of spaces so that we're all on the same page. But, yeah, so vulnerability is scary, but it's also through our vulnerability that we can work through our deepest wounds.
I'm so grateful that you brought that here, the relational wounds and the ways that these relational wounds are only really healed in relationship. because that's where they originated from. And it's very beautiful. There's a level of intimacy and connection and closeness that is formed between women, between people. But for the sake of these circles, we'll say within women, where this ultimately is the foundation of sisterhood. It's, I am able to hold you here and to love you in your wholeness, to love you in the parts that feel messy. And that doesn't mean that, what you bring is, it's hard to say the right and wrong because there's so much nuance in this. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that, we're allowed to bring our mess. We are human and we're also learning. We're learning how to teach each other to be human, to be in our hearts, to how to treat each other. And in these spaces, we're applying that. We're applying that in action of really truly being able to hold people in their humanity, in their light and in their dark. And it's not, it's really coming from this place of witnessing, coming from this place of not needing to fix or to change. However, when you are coming into it from this place of not fixing, not changing, but just being and being real to what is and to yourself of, what's within you that's being processed in this moment, that itself is what causes that alchemy. It actually does create a change and a shift of state because you're liberating yourself. This truth, this personal truth that once held so much inner conflict or shame or judgment or resistance within you, you're finally able to let it out. You're able to give it words. You're able to have it be witnessed. You're able to have it and to have yourself be received in your truth. That is the most liberating embodiment of authenticity, is to be in your truth and to be in your full truth while also being witnessed in it. That is a way of you reclaiming yourself in that moment. And that is the alchemy of it. So while we're not going into it with this intention of fixing or changing yourself, naturally, by you going through the action of owning your truth and sharing your truth and accepting it and loving it and being loved in it without judgment or shame, because oftentimes it's going to be met, that thing that you've shared that feels so big and heavy, oftentimes it's going to be met with me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And I'm so grateful that you brought that here, because that's something that I've never been able to put words to really see in myself, to claim, let alone to claim in front of other people. And I do want to say that there have been moments for myself. There have been moments in other women that have come into circle with us that have been like, I'm going to say something that I've never shared with anyone before, or something that I've only ever shared with one other person in my life. And first of all, what an honor. What an honor to be able to receive these parts of women, to be able to experience that, and also to have that be shared and released and expressed and transmuted in that moment. And there's a softening. There's a softening that happens when we are in our truth, that it's something that you can only experience. And that's why also this is the invitation of, give yourself that opportunity to be able to actually experience what it is to be held by women that are really holding you in your wholeness.
Mhm.
And in these circles, everything is sacred. Everything is honored. There is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. There is no, how could you possibly do that? It's all of it is honored, because this is all of these are all lessons. These are all things that we're learning about ourselves. We didn't come into this world born into this earth knowing how to be in our greatest and highest light and knowing how to be this absolute virtuous being. We are learning how to be human and how to be in our hearts and how to live in our truth and how to live in a way that's in alignment with who we truly are at our core. And so this showing up in these spaces, it's teaching you how to be that. And I really just wanted to speak to that, to the vulnerability of that, is that you come and you share what you feel comfortable sharing. There is no need to bring more than you are. And
Mm.
yes, there may be women that are sharing a bit deeper, and that let that be permission for you to maybe push that edge. Doesn't mean you have to do it in that moment, but it's helpful. It's helpful having people there that are pushing that edge for you, because then you get to see that there is an edge. There is capacity beyond your limit, and that shows you potentially what's possible for you if you allow yourself to be open to it. And they're all
Mhm.
invitations. Again, you don't have to do it. But what a beauty it is to be in a space where it does invite you to expand just a little bit. And that expansion, it's opening. You're opening. You're just opening yourself up. You're opening yourself up to the world. You're opening yourself up to connection. Opening yourself up to experiencing the fullness of yourself, and not just the parts that you feel good showing the world and you feel good sharing with people, but all of you, because they're all there.
Because humans are messy. Very, very messy.
And you can't bypass it. Like, I would love if that actually was possible, because that sounds like a great idealization. But
I'd love to be perfect.
I'd love to be perfect. My
That'd be so
perfectionist,
great. I'd
she'd
love it.
thrive. But that's also part of love, of part of that's part of this. It's part of it. If there wasn't that much resistance, then you also wouldn't feel the liberation when you actually do it.
Are
So
you ready? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to bring us into our next question. So what happens when women gather, even if they feel unready? It's the idea of unreadiness, of I need to be ready.
This is coming through so hard. There's a co-regulation that takes place. The beauty of women is that we are nurturing by nature.
Yep.
That we hold each other in ways that especially when you come together with intention to be there to hold each other, the mother archetype that comes out, or just that mothering energy that comes out in each and every one of us, that big sister energy, that I got you, girl. That's a lot for you. I could hold you. Can I hold your hand? The tissue box that gets
Passed
pushed,
around,
passed
passed
around in the
around.
circle because we just are so, I feel like I have shivers in my entire body. The
Mm.
ways women show up for each other in these types of spaces, I've never experienced before in my day-to-day life. And it has shown me the power of women coming together, attuning to each other, co-regulating with one another, and just syncing up. I mean, so many women, if you spend a lot of time with another woman and you still have your bleed, your periods sync up, like your cycle syncs up. So imagine if that's something moving in your body. Imagine what's going on in all the layers, the emotional, the hormonal, by all of it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what came through really strong.
Well, it's the fact that, I feel like a lot of the unreadiness comes from I'm in a state of being where I feel like I am too much,
Yes.
or I am not enough,
Yes.
right? That's usually where the unreadiness comes from. There's these two narratives. It's either the too
Mhm.
muchness or the not enoughness.
Yep.
And the beauty of being in these circles is that there is no standard. There's no
Mm-mm.
bar. There's no bar of how you need to be. And also the co-regulation, right? So when you are coming into these spaces, are actually perfect to integrate life. Like, I love these circles because they help me integrate my lived experience. They help me
Yep.
integrate what are the things I'm currently moving through that feel heavy, they feel intense, or they have me questioning my own worth, where
Yeah.
I may feel weak, I may feel insecure, I may, need to be reminded of my power. And that's exactly what happens whenever I come into these circles, where I leave feeling empowered. I leave remembering who I am, because these women, they remind me of that. They
Yeah.
remind me of who I am. They remind me of the beauty of also being woman and deep feeling. It is a gift. It is such a gift when we are able to really learn from it. Learn from what are the lessons that are coming through in this emotional charge. So there is the element of sisterhood. There's the element of the not enough and the too much. And then there's this element of being in the void.
Mm.
And I want to speak to this, because when you're in the void, nothing makes sense. Everything feels too much. Everything feels not enough. Everything
Everything
feels
feels.
just, everything just feels. and it feels very intense and it feels very ungrounding. And for the ego, which is your sense of self, it can feel very murky and unclear about who you are as you are entering this liminal space or this moment of transition. And I find that in these spaces, this is usually when we tend to isolate ourselves
Yeah.
because we're trying to reform who we are in this change. And it feels overwhelming. And in that overwhelm, it almost feels inaccessible to be in connection. It feels impossible sometimes to show up for yourself, to show up and be seen. And I've had many people in my life where I've found out about very difficult challenges and moments that they've navigated through after the fact. And I'm like, oh, I wish I had known. I wish I had known so I could have been there and held you and supported you in whatever ways that looks like. And I've also done that myself. I was actually the queen of isolating when I feel overwhelmed. It's like
I
I
have
just
a
go
beautiful
into
castle.
it's like I have a cave. I have a cave and I'll hibernate and like store all my food so I don't have to be seen by the world until I realize that I don't have to be a lone wolf. One. And two, it is so much harder to try to navigate the murky waters. Imagine you're in a swamp and you're trying to open up your eyes and there's all this murk and all these weeds and you can't see clearly and it's only you in it.
Mhm.
No one's there to help you kind of like sort through all of this soup. I call it the primordial
Oops.
soup. Everything is in there. And it's so helpful to be able, especially when you are in this state, to be held by women. Again, because of the fact that women are naturally nurturing, because of the fact that women are very deeply emotionally connected, because of the fact that women, we are natural storytellers. And it is through these stories that we share life experience, integrated life experience, embodied life experience. And that's so incredibly helpful. And there's a beauty of being able to have women that are just kind of in the soup with you and they can be like, oh, this looks so big, but it's really not. And here, let's move this over to the side and let's put this here. And this is allowed. And this is also allowed. That's okay. You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to exist. And we love it. And we love it because it's part of you. And it's only here for right now and it'll pass. And so it's like, whoa, that murky water that was filled with shit. Now there's more clarity. And there's like hands. Like imagine you're in the water and there's like hands that you're seeing in the surface and they're still slowly starting to clear the weeds. And there's a bit more clarity. And there's a bit of that nurturance and that holding. That saved my life more times than I can count. And I say that deeply, truly. When there have been moments that I have not known how to save myself, thank God, thank God for the women that have held me. And some of those women have been women that I did not know for very long, women that I met in circle that held me in that. And I'm so grateful. And that brings you to a level of closeness and connectedness to be seen in those parts of yourself by other women. It's an unbreakable bond. And you may not see them again. You may not see them for a few months, but I guarantee you that when you do, there is a level of just gratitude and appreciation for their existence and the ways that they held you. And that's a beautiful doorway to be able to deepen in those connections.
I'd love to add just a quick little story. The last women's retreat I went to, one of the women shared at the end, she was like, I honestly don't know if I'll ever see any of you again. And I'm not going to make any promises that I will, but I want you to know that I am carrying each and every one of you in my heart going forward. And that's so true. Like every woman that's ever stepped into a circle has touched some part of me. And whether we're in connection or not now, which again, connection, it's not this tangible thing. It's this I saw you, I see you, not the
Mhm.
story, not the things around you, you, and I love you. And that is the most beautiful gift a circle can give you. Gathering with women, being with women. And that is why I personally do this.
And the thing is that in this world, we go out for a coffee chat. Oftentimes we're talking about our story. We're talking
Mhm.
about our lived experience. We're getting to know each other through the story of what we've lived. But when you come into these circles, you're speaking to who you are right now in this moment and what is moving through you right now in this moment. And oftentimes, yes, there is a lived experience, obviously, that is tied with these emotions and these reflections that are coming through. But we don't know. Like, I don't know what half of these women do for work.
We know nothing about their life.
Like, I don't know what their favorite food is, but I know their soul. I know their soul and I've felt their heart and I've experienced them deeply where it's I don't need to know those things. I don't need to
Mhm.
know what you've lived to be able to have felt you, to be able to have truly experienced your heart. And that is a complete distinction for me of human connection that I've never experienced before because I've only known connection as starting from here. Let's start superficially and then we go into the depth. But these are spaces where it's like, no, no, let's be in the depth of what is here right now
Together,
together.
not alone.
And we don't have to go into all of these storytellings of this is what I do and these are my labels and these are my titles. It's this is what's in my heart. And that is the most truthful, honest, and beautiful thing that you can do for yourself is to really honor what's in your heart and what's here right now and throwing all those labels and masks and standards and hierarchies out the window,
Mhm.
out the window. And Megan and I, we are leading these spaces. Yes, but we're just holding it. We're just creating these spaces for this to even be possible, but we're not leading. We're co-creating all of it. All of it. There is no hierarchy. There is none of these power standards. There is
Mhm.
no strict schedule. You are able to, honestly, if anything, you're invited to honor yourself all the way through.
And ask for what you need. You don't like what we're doing? Say it. Be like, "This would be more supportive for me. How does that feel?" And we'll course correct. We'll check in, we'll see what is the temperature is of the group, and our agenda is just a framework for our masculine and our little ego minds to feel like we know what we're doing. But really, if it gets thrown out, that's okay.
And
So, and I
that's
think so go ahead.
no, no, I was just going to say like that is the entire point of the
Yep.
co-creation. Like that
Yes.
that is the whole point of it. So that is exactly why we encourage it because again, you're speaking to something I'm sure that is already felt in the field.
Mhm. And I think I want us to lead to the final question, which is gonna be a little bit more, theoretical. I don't know. What happens in a womb circle? What can you actually expect? We've talked a lot like, yes, all of this is what we expect, but for those who wanna know, okay, what can I expect when I walk in, all the way to when I leave? So, every single circle that Milana and I co-create or plan the framework for before we co-create together has a theme. And the theme is just going to be an energetic archetype that we're moving through. It could be a goddess. It could be the good girl archetype. It could be the mother. It could be the untamedness of yourself. It really is just something that we're choosing to narrow in so that the circle does have some form. If not, we can go in so many different directions. It would be a little bit insane. So that's something we prepare beforehand. And then if you're choosing to come to a circle, we'll usually post on our social media or we'll explain this is the theme of the circle. Are you interested? Yes or no? And we would never want you to come if you're like, I don't give a crap about that theme. Don't come if that's how you feel about it. If it hits something in you, if there's a part of you that resonates or that is curious or is even triggered a little bit, then I would say you should come. Please, please come because I think there'll be something that will unveil for you in the circle. So, when showing up, whether it's in person, You know what? Well, since we're doing virtual circles right now, we'll focus on virtual circles, which is even better because you get to do it from the comfort of your own home. How great. There's a level of vulnerability that doesn't require you to leave your house, and you can like feel in your safety space. So be in your room, your living space, whatever space in the house feels the most comfy for you, go there. So we will start with the agreements, as I said before, the agreements for the space when we first get on, just so that we all know what's expected of each other in the space. We will introduce each other. We're going to call ourselves back into this moment so that we're setting the intention. Introduce, start a little check and share of what's going on. And then that usually leads us into a mini lecture. So the lecture, we're working on making this very co-created. So we come with something we're sharing that we want to talk about around the theme, but sometimes it might trickle into different directions. Sometimes we might make it through the whole lecture without it going somewhere else, but that is just to help give us a little bit more information about what it is that we're moving through. It helps really give the mind something to feel safe and to cling to so that it doesn't feel like it's just floating in that primordial soup.
Hmm.
So after the lecture, we'll have a share circle around that. And we'll go into depth of what came up. What did that shake in you? What does this reflect for you? And you don't, again, like Milena said, I don't know how many minutes ago, you don't have to share anything that you don't want to share. You go as deep as you want. And if you're like, honestly, this theme, I just have something completely different that I want to share, you're welcome to do that too. It doesn't have to be that. You are the captain of your own experience in every way, shape, and form in circle. After that, we move into some kind of experiential practicing, usually a connection practice where we could connect together or find ways to be in connection. Or no, this one, that's what we did in person. We do more of an embodiment, some kind of experiential embodiment. So where there's movement or connection with another person. And then we move into our lovely sound bath that Milena guides us through to integrate and receive at the end of the entire circle. So we might be unearthing things, moving through things, connecting, and then we get to beautifully integrate it and receive. And then we end with our checkout and close the circle. And at the end of every single circle, me and Milena are always available for you a day after, 2 days after, a week after, a month after, because we're very aware that what happens and what moves in circle, it's going to pop back up a couple days later maybe, and you might want a little bit of support. So that's what we're there for too, as well as I'm sure the women in circle would love to support whatever came up. Do you have anything to add?
I want to add that that's exactly why we created the collective. We created the collective so that we can all continue to stay connected outside of circle. So we can all support the integration of each other outside of circle. Because, like you said, these circles, they will be as deep as you allow yourself to be open to them. If you are coming into a circle open and receptive and curious, then you can go very deep and you can meet a lot of parts of yourself. And you can also transmute a lot of parts of yourself. A lot of these stories, a lot of these just imprints that stay stuck in the body. And so, from that, because of the level of depth that is possible in these spaces, that's where it's so important to have proper integration,
Mhm.
to have people that can hold you outside of it. So you're not feeling like you've been given
Abandoned.
that courage to open up to these parts and then feeling abandoned. And that's the entire point of sisterhood. And, there might not everyone might be available to support you in your integration, but that's exactly why we have a community, is
Mhm.
that we are not just reliant on that one person for us to meet all of our needs in this way, because that's not realistic. And that's why the importance of having community, of having women that all deeply value this way of connecting and also supporting and witnessing. And I find that that's exactly what this world needs. That's exactly what women need, is to be able to we're teaching each other and ourselves once more how to be in connection and how to experience sisterhood. And I just want to say that for myself personally, I've always struggled. I've always struggled to have a group, to have a group of friends and to have a group of women. If anything, it's always been this like one-on-one connection with people. And it's been hard. It's been hard sometimes to be able to find those that are accessible to me to be able to integrate. So I find that in having these community spaces, we're opening it up for you to have support and also for anyone else that is also needing support in similar areas. They can also receive the same resources. They can also receive the same advice, the same support, the same love and words that you are. And it's beautiful because then also by you sharing that, you are opening it up for other people to receive the same support in that same area. So I just want to say that community is something that is so deeply necessary for us to be able to navigate through the human experience and through life's challenges, because life is really not all sunshine and rainbows. There will be a moment in your life, inevitably at any point, where you are going to be tested past your capacity and past your limit.
Yep.
And that's going to show you a lot of growth. Like there will be a lot of growth on the other side, I promise. But there also will be growing pains. And there will be a lot of resistance that your ego is going to meet because it doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to go into the unknown. And that's why being able to have women that are holding your hand through it, that are really meeting you in that tenderness and in that change, that is what makes us all so much more powerful. Women, we are so much more powerful when we are together, when we are unified. And that's something that you can only truly experience when you allow yourself to move past that resistance. And there's always going to be that resistance before you break through and you reach the gift, the gold. But it does require you to have the bravery and the courage and the willingness to move through those layers of resistance. And we are also here to hold your hand. Like if there is something here, anything in this conversation that has brought up this resistance in you, but there is still that desire within that resistance to show up, then bring it here. Message us, send us, like you can message Megan, you can message me, you can message Venusian Womb. And we are here to also support you and reassure you in whatever ways you need so you feel safer to be able to come into circle and really just be yourself.
On that note, I would love to invite everybody, well, not everybody, but all the women that desire to come to our final womb circle of the year on Sunday, December 21st. We don't have a theme yet, but put it in your agenda, mark it down, save the date, because we would love to end out the year with whoever feels called to join us.
And if you have any particular themes that are really resonating for you right now, then we are always open to informing what we are creating based off of what is currently moving through the field, what is moving through the women that we are connecting to. And I'm sure, again, that ping, it's a ping for everyone else. It just takes one person to have the willingness and the bravery to say, hey, how about this theme? This is what's moving through me. And then I guarantee that you're speaking for yourself and also speaking for some other woman, at least one other woman in the space. So I guess that concludes our Q&A.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you for joining us inside the Venusian Womb. If this episode spoke to something within you, we'd be so grateful if you left us a review or rating. It truly helps our podcast grow and reach more beautiful souls who are on this journey of becoming.
You can also share this episode with someone who may resonate with this message. Sometimes the right words arrive exactly when needed the most. Remember, growth takes time, and everything you're becoming is unfolding exactly as it's meant to.
May this Venusian code activate the Venusian energy within you. Until next time, take a breath, trust the timing, and keep tending to the dream within.
With love, Milena and Megan.